Hi, I'm Lucas Mack. I'm a former TV reporter, a published author, TEDx speaker, musician, advertising agency owner, and management consultant. I'm also a former Christian preacher who dedicated 15 years of my life searching for truth and love. I've done a lot of work to heal, and I'm on a mission to see the hurting get healed and the healed go out and heal others, in order for all of us to experience the true love and light we desire. This podcast is me sharing my journey with you, so you don't feel alone in your journey. Welcome to the Golden Rule Revolution. Hello, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to another episode of the Golden Rule Revolution. I am Lucas Mack, the host of this journey to elevate you into 5D so that you can leave the 3D world behind. This podcast is dedicated to treating people like people and nothing less, which means to celebrate the beauty of humanity and to eschew or to distance anything that reduces our humanity, be it political, religious, socioeconomic, anything that reduces your humanity, your sovereignty, your love, your light. This is to be left so that we may pursue our highest self in love and light, in truth, in beauty, in goodness, and in unity with one another. And that is why I am so excited to bring part 2 with Spiritual Oneness. My brother Lawrence joins me again, and we go into what does it mean to ascend, to step into our higher consciousness, to find our higher self, listen to our intuition, listen to our soul, and enter the 5D world that we're finding ourselves entering. This is a beautiful episode, and my brother Lawrence, I love you, and thank you for joining. Brother Lawrence, welcome back. Welcome back.
Thank you, Brother Lucas. It's good to be back. I always enjoy our time right here on this podcast, and for all the beautiful listeners that are going to listen today.
Man, I am so thankful we met, and I'm so thankful for our first episode. I've listened to it 3 times now, and you're just such an encouragement and blessing to me, and I'm so thankful. And I know to many others. I mean, your Instagram account that you manage, like I told you on the first episode, everyone just pings me and just gets me. And you did an affirmation yesterday, and I said that and almost got choked up when I was reading that, because it was exactly what I needed at that moment. And it's so beautiful. And today, what I would love to really deep dive into is the great awakening that's taking place right now, but also how to awaken. I think a lot of people are, whether they've come across the Wayfair scandal with human trafficking, that's waking a lot of people up, or the Hollywood scandals, that's waking a lot of people up, or even just being tired of the hatred of one man who's been in office not even 4 years. It just isn't that it's exhausting to people. I mean, like, okay, so you hate him. I said to someone at a client's office years ago, they were talking this was right when Donald Trump got elected, and they were talking about assassinating him, joking around. Sure. And I thought, what is happening? And I said, what do you want to do? Douse them with gasoline? Will that satiate your hatred? And they're like, well, kind of got into it a little bit. And I didn't even vote for Donald Trump back then. I just am so tired of this self-righteous vitriol, and it was gross to me. And I think a lot of people are waking up. So can you describe the Great Awakening from your perspective, and just the conscious awakening and the spiritual awakening?
Well, you kind of hit on it just a minute ago with part of your description there. It, as you and I previously discussed before, just a bit ago, not everyone chooses to awaken in this lifetime. Everyone opt to come to the Earth School, as I understand it, to uh, vibrate on a certain level of frequency and all that is entailed within that experience on that level. And for some, uh, that does not include awakening, as we
Hmm.
have come to understand it, especially in this time in the last couple of years. But you talked about people ask why. The question why. As soon as someone says why, that right there is the first step to a sort of awakening.
Yeah.
Why is this? What is this? What am I noticing? What am I feeling? What is this about? So I think as soon as someone has that little moment of uh, curiosity,
Hmm.
whatever it is, however it illuminates, I think that's the beginning of awakening. And
Hmm.
so then from there, everybody experiences it differently. There are lots of ways of uh, one could discuss what awakening is, and it's really perception and reality for the individual.
You, that's such a cool. I wrote a book that got published back in 2015 called "Everyone Has a Plan Till They Get Punched in the Face:
Yeah,
How to Develop Your Story and Achieve Your Dreams." And my background as a journalist, and in journalism, there's 5 questions. I mean, in any the universal way to tell a story, you have to answer 5 questions: who, what, when, where, and why.
yeah,
And society is really good at delivering who, what, when, where. In fact, the second question that we typically ask each other when we first meet after exchanging names is, what do you do?
yeah, yeah,
And when we reduce each other down to a what, we've reduced ourselves down to a particular, a label, a binary data code that we can put into the system, and we track, oh, that's this and that's that judgment. So our societal conditioning is based on judgment, which then keeps people bound in that judgment to a system that they did not choose for themselves. And what I talk about is, why is the only question that engages the heart. All those other questions engage the mind. So everyone's so stuck in the head, but they've yet to drop down to the heart and ask, why? And why, I say, is akin to belief. And we don't like to talk about what we believe, or we're taught or we're conditioned to not talk about beliefs because it triggers people or it brings contention. But it only brings contention, what I write about and I talk about, when you come from a what. Oh,
yeah,
what do you believe? Well, what do
yeah.
you think? What versus why? Well, why? And why is such, you're right. That is the beginning of the awakening, is why.
Why is it happening?
Why is it happening? Why?
What is, what,
Yeah.
why? It's as simple as that. It's very base. It's a basic, a fundamental, if you will. Um, and I like the way you talk about the heart versus the mind, because the heart is where the center is. That's where we're connected with the oneness or the love.
Hmm.
When we are in the mind, we are separate or divided. So most of the world lives in the mind, and a lot of information is delivered to the mind instead of the heart. So people
Hmm.
remain divided and disconnected, staying in their mind. And when they say why, I think suddenly there's a little blooming in the heart that occurs, and there's a spark, and that spark is the beginning. And that's
Hmm.
hopefully where the individual decides to start to grow and evolve from that curiosity and wonderment of why.
I and grew up in Christianity, but also was a Christian preacher and ran a ministry and been a worship leader in big churches and done a lot of different things in that world. And um, I do love scripture. It's a beautiful framework. But one of the things that I was very confused about growing up, and even up until I would say I got clarity in the past 4 years, is the verse in Jeremiah. It says, the heart is deceitful and desperately wicked above all things. Who can know it? And then the next verse says, I, the Lord, try the hearts and reins of man. And wrongly, I would say, I used to preach against, don't listen to your heart, don't listen, like, which so sad. And what really that verse is saying is, unless you're in the place of love, unless you're coming from love, yeah, anything that's not of love is deceitful, is desperately like love. So it's that verse taken out of context can be a weapon, but the beautiful context of that narrative is when we drop into our hearts and we come from that place of love and curiosity and beauty and wonder, there's nothing that there's nothing that can lead us astray. We just all
Indeed.
that is, and we observe.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, it's a challenge in today's world. There's so much external stimulus to pull people away from the center, even if they aren't heart identifying in any way, and there's no awareness of that. They're just, I mean, simply, if we look at technology, that in itself has pulled people out of their heart into their heads and continues to facilitate division and separateness as each person dives head deep into their phone or the like. Um, it's not easy in today's world. However, that being said, more and more people are awakening, and that's the most important part.
Yeah.
As part of that external stimulus, there is good stimulus that is helping people to awaken. There's vital information, important and truthful information, which can sometimes be ugly, but it's paramount that it gets into the ears and the hearts of people, and again feeds the curiosity, helps grow and evolve and perpetuate that awakening and that ascension as we move forward into the next crucial coming months. There's big stuff coming.
Yes, there are bigs. I just got the chills when you said that. There are everyone, brothers and sisters, there are massive events coming, and that's why ground yourself now, get in that place of love, meditate, be in you. Don't be out of you. Don't future project and don't be stuck in the past, but be in you right now. Feel your toes, feel your earlobes, feel your scalp, feel your knees, feel your ankles, like feel you in you with you.
Breathe. Breathing is one of the most important and crucial parts about remaining present or getting centered. Because really the present moment is the only thing that is real. And if we relate that to love, I liken love as the glue that holds everything together. So if we are outside of love, of course we are unglued.
Yes.
We are separate or divided.
Yes.
I like to think of it all as present moment, conscious awareness living. And, even for all of us of those who attempt to live in that way every day, again, it's not easy. Every moment is a choice. So we must choose to remain present and bring ourselves back to it when we find ourselves drifting away. So.
That's so cool. You reminded me of when we were talking about curiosity. One of the things, ever since I was young, I remember being in third grade and wondering, how do sanes go around the world? Back then, there was no technology. How did the word psych or not or dude, how did these things before media presented, how did they sweep through? And I always, and Carl Jung, the Jungian, like the greater consciousness, and there's a greater that we tap into these things, and everyone listening, like all the ancient civilizations built pyramids, all lined to Orion's belt, different eras, never spoke to each other, never communicated. How does that happen? It's a consciousness that they tap into, and so I've always been hypersensitive to and aware of the conscious narrative. And one of the things that I talked about a lot in colleges, I speak at colleges quite a bit, is we are told curiosity is dangerous, and curiosity kills the cat.
Yeah.
Curious George gets in trouble. It's curious. To be curious is actually akin to danger according to the system.
Yeah.
And that is a place of fear. That's a place of judgment, scarcity. That's a place of bondage. Yeah, trapping. But to come from a question of why, well, why do they say that curiosity is dangerous? What is on the other side of the veil? What's, the great Wizard of Oz? Wait a minute. Let me open this curtain. Oh, there you
Exactly.
are.
Good
Oh,
example. Good example.
yes. Yes. So it's interesting that the system, I would say the matrix, call it the matrix, the one thing they try to keep us from asking is why. It's more what. It's all marketing is what.
Yeah.
It's what you don't have, what you should have, what you could have, what you meant, but no one ever talks about, could you imagine a commercial on the Super Bowl? Why do you believe what you believe? Everyone like, what?
Ah, get some thinking for a moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone, the blue pill is losing ground. People are no
Yes.
longer wanting to be sedated. The red pill is winning the race here, and out of all of this, people have no choice but to move forward and to awaken, even at their own pace. However, that is the way the universe works. There is a perpetual movement forward into the awakening, especially now with what's going on as we move into the 5D new Earth,
Yes.
out of 3D, quickly through 4D and into 5D, where love rules, compassion rules, caring and serving one another rules. And we're starting to see more of that now. And it's incredible. That in itself, the very simple act of one person observing another person's act of kindness can perpetuate or amplify out into the world. It's just that one little action, that vibration is sent out, and that is what helps to expand and evolve that as we move forward.
Trying to get choked up here asking this question. It just came to my mind is, I would say one of the things that you and I have beautiful similarities in, one of many, but is standing apart from the populace and really walking our own path. And I know many people right now who are just afraid to step out of that.
Yeah.
For those that are just on the precipice, what led you to step out? I can share later, what's led me, but I'm still even not fully talking about, I'm getting close. I'm warming the world up with a message that I feel like I'm here to deliver. And I'm not out of alignment. I'm warming it up. But what led you down the path that you've gone in your awakening?
I've always, if I look back in retrospective, and I can identify with this now more so, I've always been an out of the box kind of person. And I think the first big step is when I went to college, because I'm the oldest child and I was the first to exit the household, which was not the most functional, loving, emotional sharing household. And kind of at that time, I just knew and felt that there was something different and better, and not better in the sense that everything else was worse. It's just I knew there was something different in a better way. A better way of living, a better way of connecting, a better way of doing things. And so college was that first big step, even though I had no idea probably even what the word spirituality meant at that time.
Yeah.
I think that in our subconscious minds and in our heart centers, we always have a certain knowing or understanding. It's just really about listening
Mm.
to that, whether you call it intuition or knowing or whatever that is. Eventually that becomes louder and more clear, and we're able to understand it the more we choose to understand it.
Mm.
So yeah, the college years, there was a whole time of running around and partying and doing that whole typical college stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but gosh, if I look back, there were just steps or stages or chapters. So for someone who's fearful and not sure and feeling like they don't deserve,
Mm.
and I think that right there is the impetus. Why are you feeling this way?
Mm. That's right. Who told you? Who made you feel?
Who
Where's
told
that
you?
narrative? Yes.
Who
Yes.
programmed you? What did you experience that brought you to this point of division from love of yourself or your connectedness? So for the people who are questioning, people who are listening, all you beautiful listeners who are listening,
Mm.
if you're starting to question and you still have fear, first realize that fear is an illusion and you're choosing to believe in fear. And the more that you believe in fear, the bigger it gets and the more it stays in your life. The minute that you realize it's an illusion, that only love is real, that's when fear starts to dissipate or disappear from your life, and you can start moving forward.
Hmm. That's so good. It's so beautiful. We had some friends over. Actually, well, they're friends now. We didn't really know them. My wife knew the wife of this couple kind of loosely, but um, she reached out to my wife because she saw what my wife was posting and saw this very conscious type content she was putting out on Instagram and connected. And so we had this couple over last weekend, and it was so beautiful. It was. We started talking about lots of things, and they were asking questions, and I got to share from my perspective. And now, last night, this powerful woman shared her story of being molested at the age of 5 on Instagram stories for the first time, and it was so powerful. And that was I look at that's freedom when you can talk about anything to anyone at any time without feeling afraid or shame or, oh, I should, or what do they think of me? But we can stand and say, this was my experience and I've moved through that. Others may know that they're not alone and they can move through. And that ripple effect is, it's the great liberation of our moment right now. It's just
Good
beautiful.
key word there, liberation.
Mm. I
Yeah.
wrote last year. Sorry, I've talked about it.
No, go for it. Keep
I was
going. Keep
just
going.
saying, I grew up with, I've yet to really talk about fully my growing up experience, but one of the things was incredibly toxic and violent masculinity. Um, Violent. And I wrote a couple years ago, I said, the world does not need more macho men. It needs more courageous liberators of souls. We don't need that facade is over. That is done. That is actually, there's no power left in that. The 80s Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jean-Claude Van Damme, like that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
What we're moving back into is the third great awakening, or the great awakening, is this Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, even a Nelson Mandela who can stand and articulate in the face of the opposition, come from that place of love and use the words, which are more powerful than any physical manifestation could ever be. And that's what's so beautiful about right now is we're seeing you and I talking and giving encouragement and helping other people to start talking. And that is more powerful than a bullet, a fist, uh, any physical form. It's our words and our courage. And so, yeah,
That,
just talking about liberation there.
that it's the voice from the self to the self. So when an individual who, for the most part, is living in fear because they doubt self-expression, when an individual chooses to speak about their truth, like you mentioned that lady who shared her truth from her childhood, when an individual chooses to speak their truth, they release it.
Mm.
And that truth or that experience no longer holds on to them and has control over them. They have let it go and have liberated themselves from the experience. It does not mean that the experience went away. The energy of it may remain in cellular memory, but it no longer holds on to your physical vibration. You are literally emancipating. It's a liberation. It's
That's
a
so cool.
letting go of. It's important for anybody listening who feels like they are trapped right now. It is you that chooses to hold on to what you're holding on to. It does not matter what anyone outside of yourself says to you. Every moment is your choice. If you're
Mm.
curious, be curious and move forward in curiosity.
Mm.
If you are feeling fear, ask yourself, talk to your angels, your spirit guides, talk to the universe, speak out loud, scream it at the top of your lungs in the room, get it outside of yourself and release it. And you'll notice that your true self starts to return when you let go of all that has been holding you in bondage that way.
Mm. I'm gonna share a story that last night the memories flooded me so hard. It was very difficult. But I think this is an analogy, or people can use it as a metaphor. Um, 2 years ago, I think 2 or 3 years ago, it must be 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, my wife and our kids with three children, and so they were really young at this time, 4, 2, and just newborn, and um, we took them up to the mountains during Hanukkah and Christmas, and we had time up there at this beautiful lodge, and it was snowy, and it was gorgeous, and it was magical, and it was beautiful. Um, and there was this little tiny, not even a big slope where parents were sledding with their tiny kids. I mean, it was just like a little incline. It was not even big at all. And I had 2 of these plastic sleds, and I took my 2-year-old son and my 4-year-old daughter down to this little area. Now, I would say 40 yards away, and on the other side of this berm, I mean, it was significantly far away, was a cliff, and it shot straight down. So in the elevator, I tell my kids, I said, do you know how to get off a sled? And how you get off a sled is you roll off. If you don't want to go any further to where you're going, you roll off. And so I was just saying in passing, and I said it in passing, and I'm just talking to them. It was the first time I'd really gone sledding with them. And I tell my oldest, I said, don't get on the sled, stay right here. And I mean, this is literally a 20-yard little, I mean, it was not far at all. And I said, stay right here. And I'm going to take my son first. So I went down with my son, and I just make it to the bottom. I hear, Dad, help. And I look, and she is shooting off the cliff.
Ooh.
And I sprint after her, and literally I see her go off the cliff.
Ooh.
And this cliff is literally almost I mean, I forget what the incline is, but it is a straight mountain cliff. It is off a cliff, and I'm seeing her and I can't catch up with her, and I'm running down this cliff, and there's two ravine like dips, and she rolls off, and I grab her hand, and the sled continued down the mountainside down to a river and went away, and I got her, and I couldn't even get up. It was a miracle that I grabbed her, and she's shaking. I'm screaming for help. My son's at the top of this cliff. My wife was with our baby. I mean, it was so intense. It was so scary. I still have, last night, I still had this trauma because I saw her go. I thought she's dead. I mean, it was just this weird experience. She's screaming for me, and I cry out in this like desperation, and she disappears. And then I'm running almost vertically straight down this cliff, and I grab her, and she rolled off. She remembered to roll off, which is just, and I went there for a conference, this resort. I went there for a conference last year, and it's all fenced off now. And we had to get, I mean, it was pretty intense. But why I share this story is for many, perhaps it feels like they're going to go off a cliff when they leave. But love is right there and will grab you at that precipice. And it reminds me of when I attempted suicide, and like that split second, I don't even know why I didn't die that night. But love grabbed me at that last second. And love will grab people when they just let go. Just gotta let go. We just gotta let go.
It is exactly that. It is exactly that. It's a beautiful share. And I know that will help to make a difference for many people listening right now in their own way. Everyone will be able to relate to that in their own way. It's very important and poignant and powerful. It's really important that you share that with everybody today. It will mean a lot to them. And it is. Once we let go of what we think we are holding on to, we are free. You know, there's so many powerful illusions that people live with. And if we simply step back and become present and see or feel the moment and everything around us, I think that's a great place to start. A lovely, powerful place to start to move forward from. Every single moment is a new opportunity. And for everybody that's listening, realize that as we move forward into this new world and this new earth, and I'm sure all of you are experiencing all of these different dramas and traumas and situations and ridiculous acts of stupidity, as I'll call them, in certain ways. Yes. They are happening for a reason. Everything simply is. When we stay grounded with it and observe and become aware, that's when you become empowered, you become liberated, and you can grow and evolve with it. Choose it. Choose more instead of others and other things choosing you. Stay empowered, move forward. Most importantly, love yourself. That's the biggest thing. Lucas talks about jumping. What's on the other side of that jump? There's no net. There's faith and there's hope, but most importantly, there's love. Jump into the love, because that's the only thing that's real.
That's so good. So simple, so yeah, so simple.
We make it more difficult than it needs to be. The majority of us grow up believing things should be a certain way because we are told that by our parents, for our educators, for our peers, for our work environment,
Mm.
for our government, for our media,
Yeah.
or even television. Television tries to, I mean, television is literally a programming ideal. It's intended to program people a certain way. That's why it's called television program.
Right.
Um, so there's a lot of outside stimulus that we, once we become aware of, we can halt it, we can let go of it, we can shut it off, and
Mm.
we can come back, come back to the center, come back to the most important thing, which is the self. When we have the power and the connection to ourself, we have the universe because we are the universe. And
Yes.
as we move forward into the what appears to most to be uncertain times for the next little while, um, if you choose to uh, wake up to yourself now, however that works, however that evolves for you, even just by simply asking that one worded question, why, then
Mm.
you've taken the first step into empowerment as we move forward into what's coming. This new world, this new earth, this new way of doing things, moving into the love and the light and the connectedness. You know, we just have to get through what I liken the pimple stage right now. It's going to
Mm.
be ugly and swollen and red and pussy for a while,
Yeah.
but you know what? There's beautiful skin on the other side of it.
Yes.
Everything always clears, everything always heals if we let go and allow it.
That's so good. That's so good. I was talking to a friend. He's in his mid 60s, and we go for a walk every week. And I was talking to yesterday. I said, "Can you imagine if your body regresses? Can you imagine if literally you're aging? Actually, you become a younger, stronger, more powerful, beautiful version of your higher self. You actually manifest." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Just play with the idea." I said, "There's not an accident why they came out with the movie Benjamin Button. There's not an accident why this rolling back of time, this body regression, but it's not even a regression. It's just the false aging that I I don't know where I'm going with this other than I'm like, people are probably like, what? But you know what I mean? Like, what
Yeah,
in this new world, we're aging. It's interesting because the Bible talks about, it says the wages of sin is death. And that has been used as weapon and dogma, but sin means to miss the mark, and wage means given for an action, or you do something, you're paid a wage. So it's just the return, it's the consequence upon an action. So the consequence upon an action that misses the mark, which is anything but love, anything other than love is missing the mark, is death. But not at the ultimate death. It's a decay, it's a dying, it's a slow eroding of what we were truly in alignment to be in, is love. And in love, there's no death. In love, there's no decay. In love, there's no end. It's infinite. There's before the beginning and after the end, there is love. And this is what I mean. Like, can we imagine? Let's start to think about what this physical representation looks like when there's just love. And I've seen in these men's retreats, when I help them integrate their little child back, their little boy back into themselves. And they physically, I mean, they glow. Literally, they look different. That harshness, the darkness, the anger, all these things manifest physically. When all that stuff goes away, it's just this beauty. It's really spectacular to see the physical realm change when the spiritual realm heals.
yeah. Two key words there. You spoke of alignment and glow. You know, when we are in alignment with our authentic self, we do glow. Anything outside of that has us feeling muddy
Yeah.
or misaligned, out of balance.
Or ugly.
ugly,
Yeah.
uh, anything that takes away our self-empowerment um, from whatever outside stimulus that has come our way.
Mm.
Uh, it, we are divine beings authentically by divine birthright and universal birthright from the source, from the God source. We
Mm.
are not separate from that. It's only our choice to separate or divide from that.
Right.
But it's also our choice to come home, come back to home as well. The love that we really are. We are the love. We are the universe. God is within us. We are within God. There is no separation whatsoever. That's not a religious statement.
Right.
That is simply a spiritual observation.
Mm.
We are, and that's all we need to say.
Yeah.
When someone says, I am,
Yes.
it's as simple as that. We are, I am. That's
Mm.
all that needs to be said. Declaration and self-affirmation in that way can be very
It's interesting you say that. Last night while I was falling asleep, I was thinking about this podcast, and I've definitely evolved it. And your episode is the first, our first episode is the first one with my new music and the new path that I'm growing into. And I realized, and I did landmark a beautiful, like powerful landmark earlier this year, which seemed like 1,000 years ago. In January, I did
powerful.
landmark, which seems like January 2020. That's got to be a decade ago, right? Um, and it was really beautiful. One of the things I realized last night is the podcast I've been saying, my name's Lucas Mack. My name's Lucas Mack. But I've started changing. I am Lucas Mack.
Exactly.
It's not my name. It's I am. I am. I'm here. I speak. I'm with you. I am Lucas Mack. And
Yeah.
this is the Golden Rule Revolution. um, it's just a big change. I realized this last night while I was falling asleep.
Very powerful.
Mm,
Very powerful. Those simple observations can make a world of difference. It
mm,
gives you a new level of connection and understanding to yourself.
mm.
You're one step closer to your authentic self and your love that you really are. That's what you are. That's what we all are.
Yeah.
That's so very powerful. Good for you.
Thank you. That's so cool. I have a funny story, and we can wrap it in a second. But when I was in college, there was this um, beautiful old historic church down the road from my house, and I don't know, I just had this curiosity about this church. I drive by it. I lived at this house for a year and a half, maybe like a little over a year into it. These people knock on my door from the church and they invite me to it. I was like, oh, I've been curious about this place. Just the aesthetic of the church looked really cool. It was very historic. So I go in there and it's like three people in there. It's like, okay, this is not a thriving, abundant, loving, joyous place. It was very weird energy. And I walk in, and this old lady, I'm like saying hi, oh, hi, hi. And this old lady's like, what's your name? And I go, my name's Lucas. And she goes, Lucifer? I go, no, Lucas. She goes, Lucifer? I go, no, Lucas. She's like, nice to meet you, Lucifer. And I was like, okay, this place is weird. I got to get out of here. And I will never, I mean, it was strange. She asked me 3 times. I told her 3 times, and she ended on "Nice to meet you, Lucifer." And I laughed, and it's a funny, weird story, and I'm still not even sure the integration of that. Although Lucas means light bearer, and Lucifer was the angel of light that brought light, the morning star. Light bearer. So there's a similarity, I guess, in that. But anyway, just owning my name, owning I am, and that's a beautiful step for everyone to.
It is, and there's a whole another side to that story sharing, which is just a prime example of the filter that that particular individual lives from,
Yes.
and the perception that that individual perceives life through. So no matter how many times you clarify that, That was their perception. There was nothing you could change within that. So you stood
Wow, that's
strong.
so good.
Yeah, you stood strong in yourself. I am Lucas, but it kept bumping up against that person. Oh, nice to meet you, Lucifer. So,
Wow, that is so wild. That's so good. That's so wild. You're
yeah,
right. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so good.
There's nothing, we cannot force an individual to perceive or live or feel or do in any way. All we can do is lead by example. And that brings me to this about any of the sharing and the information that I offer on these podcasts. My uh, my words and my thoughts are mine. I do not intend to try to convince anyone of anything here.
Yeah.
It's simply offerings of love and different frequency insights or vibrational insight. And the hope is that it sparks an individual, even on the smallest level, to choose to vibrate a little bit more in a different frequency with more love and move forward within their
Beautiful. I love you, brother. Thank you. Thank you.
life. I love you, brother. It's a blessing in my life as well to have made your acquaintance and to uh, connect in all the different ways that we do.
Yeah.
And I'm looking very forward to the future of
Same. Same.
things.
We're gonna have fun together in the physical realm someday soon. It'll be beautiful.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like I mentioned, I have family on the west side, so who knows if I end up over there at some point.
Love it. Brothers and sisters, what a cool journey we're all on together. You get to choose love and light and break free, break out, fight with every ounce of you to get all that stuck energy, all the negativity, all the control, all the past world, the guilt, the shame, the family structures, the political structures, all these power structures that have kept you from being free. Leave those. Search and find love and light. Get grounded in the present moment. Fill your lungs with air. Breathe in and get grounded in this present reality. It is beautiful and there's nothing to fear, my brothers and sisters. Fear not. Fear not. For light overcomes darkness always. I'm Lucas Mack. This is the Golden Rule Revolution. Thank you so much for joining, and I look forward to bringing, we got so many more great episodes on their way. So buckle up. Blessings, brothers and sisters. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for listening. For support in your journey, go to my website, lucasmack.com.